Hello, this is the Internet Advertising Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Gock. In this episode, I'd like to talk about targeting Facebook ads, some advanced techniques for doing that, as well as creating custom audiences from email addresses and creating lookalike audiences. There's a previous episode about the basics of setting up a Facebook ads campaign. If you haven't listened to that, you can give it a try. It's episode 2, and then come back here. Targeting of Facebook ads lives in the ad sets. When you set up a campaign and create an ad set, you can choose who this ad appears to. First of all, it's location targeting. You choose your country or your region, city, neighborhood. You choose your age group and the gender of the people that you want to see your ads. Also the language. Now this all seems fairly straightforward. I want to skip over to the next section, which is called detailed targeting. Here, first of all, you can choose interests. You can choose interests that have to do with your product. That's the most obvious thing. So if you're selling beauty products, choose someone who's interested in beauty products. If you have a marketing podcast, then choose interests, and then choose marketing or podcasts. But sometimes people that are actually interested exactly in what you have to offer might not be the best client. First of all, they might already have a lot of products like the one you're selling. Or, let's say an example, you're advertising loans. If someone is interested in loans and has liked a lot of loan pages, chances are he takes a lot of loans or is searching for a lot of loans and doesn't necessarily have good credit history. So that might actually be a person that you don't want to target because you're looking for people who might want to borrow some money but don't have tons and tons of debt already. You can also use interests to target specific groups of people that might have some traits that you want. For example, if you're looking to pick people with a lot of disposable income, you can also do that using interests. You might choose people that are interested in overseas travel, or maybe in sports, in mountain biking, hang gliding, skiing, sports that require some time and disposable income. Chances are, if you pick people with those interests, you're going to hit the target that you want. Let me talk about this episode's sponsor. Do you run an email newsletter for your business? It can really help you grow catch-loss sales and make you more profitable. Try out the free Get Response list building program. It's an email marketing course that covers everything you need to know to grow your list by up to 10,000 subscribers in as little as 90 days. Go to internetadvertisingpodcast.com/getresponse to find out more about this free course. If you already run a newsletter, I probably don't have to convince you of the benefits. However, in order to successfully run one, you need a good email marketing platform. I'd like to recommend Get Response. I've been using them since 2010, so that's 9 years, and I'm very happy with their service. They have excellent deliverability, and they work hard to help sort out any problems with email providers that might want to mark your marketing emails as spam. They also have a very advanced marketing automation solution and offer A/B testing, email analytics, and more. If you have a larger list, you can opt for Get Response Enterprise. Your service gets hosted on 2 separate IPs and can handle sending up to 1 million emails in 24 hours. So go to internetadvertisingpodcast.com/getresponse to find out about the free list building course as well as about what Get Response has to offer. Now let's get back to targeting Facebook ads. The second way you can use detailed targeting is demographics. Here you can choose a lot of different things. You can choose the education level. You can choose life events, for example, if they're getting married. You can choose to target people that are parents. You can choose by political affiliation, by relationships, by the industries they work in, by job titles. I think Facebook is a good place to target using these demographics because people share a lot on Facebook. So there's a large chance that they actually gave true information and that Facebook knows this about them. You can target similar things on Google, for example, but there I think I have a little less confidence that they actually know as much about these people. I think Facebook knows the most. If you're targeting financial demographics, keep in mind that people don't actually enter how much they make into Facebook, and you're actually targeting zip codes where the average income is higher. So it might not work that well, and you might be better off targeting by interests or likes that are associated with high-income people, like I mentioned before. The next category you can target by is behavior. This is something I think Facebook is uniquely positioned to know about people. You have anniversaries, whether they're coming up soon or on that day. You have digital activities, like the operating systems they used, if they're Facebook payment users, console users, Facebook page admins, what internet browsers they used. There's also travel. Since people use Facebook all the time, especially when they travel, they post pictures. Facebook knows if you traveled, and you can show your ads to people that have returned from a trip. By default, everything I mentioned before is or, meaning you include people who match at least one of the following. If you enter 3 activities or 3 hobbies or 3 interests, if a person matches just one, the ad will be targeted towards them. But that's not always what you want to do. Sometimes, let's say the example of marketing podcast, you want people that are interested in marketing and in podcasts. So what you have to do is in the first box you enter your interest. First one, doesn't matter which one. And then what you do is you narrow it. You click underneath the box where it says narrow, and the second box appears with the text, and must also match at least one of the following. And then you enter different interests or demographics or behaviors. Now a person has to match something from box 1 and something from box 2. You can stack those, you can enter a couple of those. Very often it pays to have narrowed interests. Underneath all those boxes, you have a checkbox that says expand interests when it may improve performance at a lower cost per result. I would start without this checked. Facebook will try to basically add more interests than the ones you decided on. If you have conversion tracking on and you have a campaign that's working, you can try that. But at first, especially if you don't have a website which is easy to track when you have sales or leads, then I would not check this, as you just spent all this time hand-picking all these great demographics and interests you want your ads shown to, and then Facebook will just add more. Doesn't make any sense. You can also select connections, which means you can target your ads to people that are connected to some pages, that meaning that like them, follow them. Unfortunately for you, as the advertiser, you can't target people that are connected to somebody else's pages. You can just choose your own pages and your own apps right here. Let's talk about audiences. If you go to the tools in your account and choose audiences, you have several options. Now, the first type of audience is a saved audience. So basically everything I talked about before. You choose interests, behaviors, and then you can save it for use at a different time. That's not very interesting. It's helpful, but it's not very interesting. It gets interesting when you create a new custom audience. You have several options here. One is website traffic. So if you place the Facebook pixel, meaning just some JavaScript on your website, you can later filter web traffic by pages people have visited in a certain time frame. So you can target people that visited your checkout page, or people that signed up for your newsletter, or people that read a certain article. That can be very interesting if you have a lot of website traffic. You can choose different types of people with different interests based on that. It's remarketing, people that already came to your site, not necessarily interacted with you too much. You might not have their data, but Facebook does, and you can show your ads again to that person. I think there's an even more interesting option, which is using customer files. If you have a website where you sell something, you definitely have people's email addresses. Or if you just have a newsletter, you might have hundreds, thousands of email addresses of people, and you send them emails, but you might want to interact with them on Facebook. What you do is you upload a customer file with those email addresses to Facebook. Facebook then matches those emails to people in their database. It depends on the traffic you have. You might match 1 in 3, you might match 1 in 5, you might be lucky and match 1 in 2 maybe. So you need a fairly big file. It's not going to be 100 people. It needs to be a couple of thousand or several thousand to make sense. But then you have an audience of people that are your customers or your newsletter subscribers, and you can show them ads. Sometimes they might not react to a newsletter, but they'll react to a Facebook ad they see. Or you might remind them about a certain page or a sale that you talked about in a newsletter that they might have missed. Now, what gets even more interesting is that you can enter the lifetime value of the customer in the file you upload to Facebook. So, for example, if you have a newsletter and you track the sales from the newsletter, or if you just have website clients with accounts and you track how much they bought from you, how much you made on them, you can upload that data in the customer file. This comes in handy in the next step. Once you have a custom audience from a customer file, you can create a lookalike audience. This is where the real magic happens. First, you choose a source. It can be a custom audience or a page. Then you choose a location. You have to choose a country or a region. And then you can choose a percentage. I think you should start with 1%. That means Facebook will try to create an audience that looks as much as the audience you had in your customer file has the same traits, using 1% of the country you chose. You can choose a bigger number, you'll get a bigger audience, but of course those people will be less like your original audience. So just start with 1%. Or you can choose advanced options and create a couple of audiences. For example, 3 audiences, and there'll be 1, 2, and 5%. I'd like to share my workflow for setting up a campaign. First, you have an ad, and you choose the interests, the behaviors, like I spoke about at the beginning. It's good to have a website that has some action that's easily measured. So, whether it's lead generation or a sale, or watching a video, something that you know the person actually interacted with you and completed an action that you care about. You should track that with a Facebook pixel, of course, and after some time, you will have a database of customers, a group, an audience of customers on Facebook that did what you wanted. After that, after it's a couple of thousand people, so it's best if this action isn't something very hard to do. For example, buying something for $1,000. It might make more sense if it's just signing up for a free newsletter. After you have that audience, you can create a lookalike audience, and then you launch a second campaign where you just target that lookalike audience. These audiences perform pretty well since Facebook uses their algorithms and all the data it has on these people to find the best people to show your ads to. I hope you enjoyed this episode. You can visit us at internetadvertisingpodcast.com. To hear more, be sure to subscribe wherever you listen, in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, or your podcast client of choice. And once again, go to internetadvertisingpodcast.com/getresponse to start growing your email list in 90 days for free.